Come on in here, YouTube. I'm not going to be here all day. Going to the Drew League a little later on and watch some basketball. Watch some golf right now. Man, that golf course is beautiful. Shit. Yeah. Come on in here, y'all. As I fix up my potion. What's up, Yuki? Remember him? We about to just have some time memorializing the great Michael Jackson. It's been 14 years. What's up, Sherelle Brian? What's up, D? What's up, Forever Joe? Hotep niggas. Yeah. Can y'all believe it's been 14 years? 14 years since the great Michael Jackson's transition that left us. I was gonna do it earlier. I wanted to pull up some of his cards, but I'm having some freezing issues on my computer. And so I was gonna pull some cards up with this, but we could talk about some cards if y'all want. But Michael Jackson, 14 years. Like, man, where were you when you saw Michael Jackson died? Where were you when you found out Michael Jackson died? I was part of my funkadelic flow every day for me. Ha ha. Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely. I'm over here thinking, I forgot I even had this shit on. I even had these stems, a mullein stem, but purple runts. I'm not. These are pink runts, pink runts, pink runts, pink runts. You say you was in your living room wishing it wasn't true. At home, you heard your mother screaming. Yeah, man, Michael Jackson. I mean, what a life, man. What an impact. You know, when people say things like, I want to live long, whatever, you know, people could live a century, people could live 10 centuries and not have the impact Michael Jackson had in 50 years. You know, Michael Jackson lived 50 strong years. I remember, you say you was in the Washington Irving Library in South Central. Oh, you were near me. Hey, Roland Curtis, is your name Roland Curtis because of that street over off Century, Roland Curtis? You name yourself up to that street. This is one little small street over off like Century in Vermont called Roland Curtis. Like the hood got so random. That's just a random ass street in the middle of the hood. Like, where the fuck did Roland Curtis come from? You said you were at your grandmother's house? I see for me, what was that? When Michael Jackson died, I was I was working with kids. And it's funny because this is when I first started my job I had at Hathaway Sycamores. I started that job May of April of 2009. And so like I was on my probationary, really May 2009. I was on my probationary period and I had these clients. And when I used to work with kids, I used to I don't know what this is. I already had DirecTV send me a new router, a new modem. Cause I'm 50 feet from my fucking modem. There ain't no in hell that should be doing this shit. Ever since I moved, internet been tripping. Anyway, one thing you do when you work with kids is you find common interests to build with working with kids. And it was this, a couple of kids I had that Michael Jackson was the bonding tool. One kid, he was like 6 or 7, and I would bond with that kid over Michael Jackson. And I had another kid who was always in and out of jail, and I would bond with her. She was a girl; she was like 16, and I would bond with her over Michael Jackson, just Michael Jackson stories. And one thing that I would do with the kids that I work with, I would go to my wife's dad, my father-in-law, and I would ask him questions about Michael Jackson and working with Michael Jackson when Michael Jackson was a child. And I would work with these kids I worked with. I would tell them Michael Jackson stories that they never heard before, through the eyes of my father-in-law when he worked with him on the early Jackson 5 stuff. And it amazed me that Michael Jackson, one of the kids that I worked with, he was born, I think, Michael Jackson not died in '09, so that means that one kid was born like in '02. So I mean, Michael Jackson hadn't even dropped an album his whole life. And I was able to talk Michael Jackson with a 7-year-old to get them to pay attention and listen. And the same thing with like the 16-year-old. And even with the 16-year-old, the prime of Michael Jackson's career had long passed. But it was something about Michael Jackson that I could always use and to bond with children, especially children who are hard to bond with. It's like you can listen to some Michael Jackson music, tell Michael Jackson stories, talk Michael Jackson, and it was like you can start a conversation with these children who didn't trust adults, didn't like working with adults, and didn't like working with the system. And that's how like dope Michael Jackson was. So when Michael Jackson died, I was with this one kid, the 6-year-old I told you I worked with. Just before I went to go see him, I was with my uncle's house because at my last job, when I was at that job, in between clients, I was sometimes like kicking with my uncle or some shit like that. Just to, I'm over here dropping weed on the ground. Fuck, I don't want no weed on my ground. Damn, I'm over here dropping weed. Um, I would, I would do Michael. I would listen to Michael. I would go to my uncle, and I remember watching the news, and it was like Michael Jackson died. I was like, huh? The same two kids that I worked with that I used to bond and talk Michael Jackson with, I had to see them same two kids that day. And all I remember was it was as bad as telling a child that like an uncle or somebody passed away, or brother or a sister. It was that hard to tell them kids that Michael Jackson had died. That was some crazy shit. And it was even crazier that I had to be the one to tell them. And all I remember was when I told them kids that Michael Jackson had died, the next few weeks, their behavior wasn't shit. It was like he died, and it was like these totally morphed, changed the behavior of these children for like a few weeks. And I was like, man, Michael Jackson ain't even the era of music. Matter of fact, the music that they like the most from Michael Jackson is 2 or 3 eras before them. Eras, I say eras. Eras before them. And they still love Michael Jackson. And that's was my short question. Yeah. But yeah, it just really showed the impact. Hey, and Dr. Short, if you want to do a Twitter space later on about Michael Jackson, let me know. I forgot to even call you back. What's up, Dr. Short? Y'all follow Dr. Short. Y'all be asking me where Dr. Short's YouTube is. It's right there. DRS1 C Buster. That's Dr. Short's YouTube page. You said he was a top 10 anime death. What the hell is that? But it really just goes to show you the impact Dr. Short had. I'm not Dr. Short. I said Dr. Short. I'm not talking Dr. Short there. The impact. I was born in '81. I don't remember when Thriller was always around in my life. You know, they ain't Black Big Bang, y'all. Rafisis, that's y'all can't do better than that with fat jokes. Oh, you like cake? How long? I got a question, Rafisis. How long you been saying that joke? You been saying that joke since you was like 5, haven't you? I'm gonna need y'all to get a little fresh with these fat jokes. Stop saying the jokes y'all was saying when y'all was 6. We can tell. I laugh at a good one. But nigga, you been saying that joke since Michael Jackson was black. Skin tone, that is. What's up, Bruce? I'm gonna need you to update that. Well, I can't say Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson wasn't the only one to have a whole lengthy childhood career through adulthood. We can't forget his cousin, Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder's first hit came when he was fingertips. How was Stevie Wonder when he did fingertips? Like 9 or something like that, 10, little Stevie. You wasn't a teenager yet. So you have Sammy Davis Jr. It's a lot of people who were Star Child. Not a whole lot, but Michael Jackson wasn't the only one. But Michael Jackson, what he did for us, like what he had a global impact. MJ could really. What's up, Smoke Splitter? See, if we were just to take Michael Jackson's dancing, that would mean that's so little compared to what he did and his impact and what he was able to do, pull off. You got to listen to his singing ability, his lyrics, his business moves. Michael Jackson was all of that. What's up, SAB1? I'm performing at the Hidden History. They doing some comedy at the museum, at the Hidden History Museum on this coming Saturday the 1st. Get your tickets. Get your tickets now. Yeah, Michael Jackson. Yeah, the Sony ATV publishing move, the music video moves. Michael Jackson even did things as cold as. Remember when he just gave? Well, y'all may not know this, but y'all know that song "Love Will Be Right Here" by SWV. Michael Jackson just liked SWV, so he gave them that track. He didn't even charge them. when he did "Love Will Be Right Here." You know how they did "Human Nature," the "Human Nature" remix. Michael Jackson loved what they did with it. He just commissioned them and let them. He didn't even hit them no points. So Biff, right? Yeah, he tried to purchase Marvel. We saw that video with Joe Jackson on him when he was on the news on CNN. See, Michael Jackson low key worked with with other black artists. He gave Little Richard and Sly Stone and those guys a publishing back. So MJ, he was somebody who got in the door, but was truly for his people. Yeah, Usher was discovered on Michael Jackson. Chris Brown's first, yeah, on stage appearance. Everybody doing. Michael, yeah. But we gotta remember where Michael Jackson's card. And I wish I could have done this on my computer. But my shit still. Michael Jackson's card was a ten of hearts. Ten of hearts is the card of the performer. His birthday, August 29th, he was a ten of hearts. And if you see anybody that has a ten of hearts, or if I'm just say if I'm doing like a reading for you, and you want to know what you need to do to get yourself out there, and the ten of hearts comes up, ten of hearts means perform. It means put all of your energy and emotion into performance. Sometimes performance doesn't mean necessarily getting on stage. Sometimes performance can mean, if you're applying for a job or if you want to sell to a certain client, you got to perform. You got to give them that extra body language to get the sale. Early Curtis, the only artist who was good at better at the craft is Michael Jordan. Yeah, it's up there. Michael Jackson, he's at a plateau. It's not. I love MJ, but I try not to make it seem like I put Kobe up there, MJ, because Kobe is the most skilled basketball player we've ever seen play as far as ability to do everything on the court with both hands. I'd put Jerry Rice as a football player up there with Michael Jackson. Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith is a football player. I would put Stevie Wonder and Prince. Prince, Stevie Wonder, these guys, Count Basie, Duke Ellington, Michael Jackson's James Brown, Sammy Davis Jr., uh, uh, man, there's so many. No, well, not so many. Not so many, but it's so many, but so few at the same time. Aretha Franklin, as far as singing. Um, Luther Vandross, as far as just pure singing ability, what he can do vocally. Um, Dennis Chambers on drums. Man, Herbie Hancock on piano. These are just virtuosos, man. Jimi Hendrix, if I didn't say his name already. Muddy Waters. Miles Davis. Yeah, that's right. Can't forget Miles Davis. What's his name? John Coltrane. I mean, and I'm forgetting so many. Michael Jackson's in the company with so many greats. But even pure singing, I can't even. I wouldn't even. To tell you the truth, pure singing, I wouldn't even want to. Don't ever ask me to put a list of. I already put together a top 200 list. I haven't released yet. Singers of all time, but singing, Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson's former girlfriend, Stephanie Mills, as far as his raw vocal ability. Oh my God, Stephanie Mills still can sing. So many. The Nicholas brothers when it comes to dancing. Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones is as great as Michael Jackson. Let's not forget they were a perfect yin and yang match. See, the artists that we see in music, that's the vocal extension of the producer that puts the music together, and both are equally important. Count Basie, man, he put some of the biggest hits, and Quincy Jones put some of the biggest hits on Ray Charles, Frank Sinatra himself. I mean, just so many. That's a good one, Marcia. Levi Stubbs. Vocally, that's a good one, Marcia. Byram. Levi Stubbs from the Four Tops. Let's not forget the group, the Four Tops, the Temptations, the Spinners, the Isley Brothers, Earth and Fire, Pilot and Funkadelic. But Marcia just came up with a good one. Levi Stubbs. That's another one name that we, as black folks, have. It seems as if we've forgotten about. He died back in 2000. Lead singer of the Four Tops. The Four Tops actually stayed together the whole time. All four members: Lawrence, Obi, Duke, and Levi. Those are the four members of the Four Tops, and they stayed together through death. Yeah, it is subjective. I was born in the '80s too, but for me, I'm a little different because I really do study music and what was going on. And music has errors. And there are some artists that transcend errors, and Michael Jackson, one of the very, 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 very few artists transcend errors. The thing that I could put Michael Jackson at above, the one thing I could put Michael Jackson over any other artist at is the ability to transcend errors. I'll say that. That's the one thing I'll put Michael Jackson over everybody else. He transcends more eras and more cultures than anyone else. I'll give him that because as great as Prince was, still is, you don't have 7-year-olds singing Purple Rain. Now, if he was around when Purple Rain dropped, that song is an anthem, and and death to anybody that slanders the song Purple Rain or anything Prince. But you have 5-year-olds and 10-year-olds singing Bad and Thriller and Want to Be Starting Something and Beat It. You don't have 7-year-olds singing When Doves Cry. You know, not all of Prince's lyrics are too sexual. Some were, a lot weren't. Hey Norman, that's a good one, Richard. Glenn Goins from Parliament Funkadelic. That's a good one. Glenn Goins when he's singing that mothership down, that's a singing ass nigga right there. I would go so far as to say Stevie Wonder and James Brown, they had equal impact to Michael Jackson. I don't know if I could put any one over the other out of those three. James Brown, Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, they're all equal as far as impact, as far as musical impact, and what they did musically. James Brown brought in the funk. He changed how horns were phrased in music and how the music was phrased. And there is no Michael Jackson without James Brown. I let, look. Let me go so far as to say here. I would have to probably do this on the instance and ashtrays, but right now my computer's just tripping. Like it's something going on that I haven't fixed yet. So that's why I'm coming to y'all on my phone. I ain't really doing no instance and ashtrays. But when you look at the polls Michael Jackson does um, at the end of his concerts, That is a pose that he got from Sammy Davis Jr. One of Michael Jackson's most famous dance moves when he pops his head back and snaps his fingers. That's all James Brown. So we're not gonna. I don't want to do like what basketball fans do with Michael Jordan. A lot of basketball fans act as if Michael Jordan was the first to shoot the fadeaway. So when they see Kobe doing the same fadeaway, they say he took it from Jordan. I'm like, no, Jordan. That's a the fadeaway is a Dean Smith shot. All the North Carolina guys have fadeaway. Rasheed Wallace, Vince Carter, Jerry Stackhouse. That's a North Carolina shot. The two dribble pull up Michael Jordan got from Jerry West. You know, the attacking the basket, Michael Jordan got that from David Thompson. So there's always an evolution. So we don't want to make it seem as if because we I like to always pay respects to where things originated from. And a lot of your Michael Jackson dance moves are James Brown. They're Sammy Davis Jr. They're Nicholas brothers, and he put them together. Jackie Wilson and Michael Jackson put them all together and created his own thing out of that. But there are certain dance moves that Michael Jackson did that was just straight James Brown. Just straight James Brown. Wasn't no adaptation, no modification. And you'll see it on the Bad Tour. You will see it in all of his the the tour he had with the Dangerous tour. You see James Brown moves all throughout that tour. So yeah, forever Joe, I'm gonna do mixed cloud, but it's ever since I moved, there's something going on with my computer, and y'all may have noticed this when I'm on it. When I'm talking, it'll be like a 10 to 15-second gap to where it's just like no sound, nothing, and then it'll pick back up. And I don't want to do that with a music show. I don't want to be playing music and then every song is 10 or 15 seconds where it blanks out. I got to take my shit down. I got an appointment tomorrow down. Or I could just use I have a brand new laptop that I never use. I could just do it on my laptop, but yeah. So when it comes down to it, he said Turbo at the Shalimar Kid. You talking about Jeffrey Daniel? Yeah, Jeffrey Daniel was on camera moonwalking before Michael Jackson. You can look it up. Jeffrey Daniel moonwalking on Soul Train, and but they just called it the slide the back step. They didn't call it the moonwalk. They called it the back step, and it's this video. And Jeffrey Daniel, his moonwalk is so smooth too. He do it slow. He doing this shit like in the pocket, real slow. Ugh. Ooh, man, that shit was. Yeah, Nicholas Brothers, what they did, and that's nothing. The Nicholas Brothers talk about stars forever. That's why black people. The reason why, and Preston number one. I'm getting ready to the backslide. Thank you, Chase Move. Preston number one. If you're ready to donate for my documentary, I'm getting ready to start a crowdfunding on my documentary. It's already copywritten. First episode's already filmed. I'm about to do a documentary series, and I need 35 grand from y'all. I need help. That link is going to drop sometime next week, and I'm going to drop the pilot to my documentary series. The title is "It's Bigger Than Hip Hop: the Black American Influence on World Music and Culture." It's bigger than hip hop. That's the name of the series. I'm dropping the first episode for free here on YouTube next, like sometime in the next week. So y'all get ready for that. What's up, Jeff Brown? It was good work seeing you on stage last night, man. I'm glad to get to finish watching your set, Jeff, because I had to leave, bro. I had to shit. I'm sorry, audience. I said that on stage last night. Like I went on stage. My man Mike Robertson. I just went to go support Jeff Brown and Mike Robertson last night, and I got on stage and he asked me to do some comedy. I wasn't ready to do no comedy. I was in shorts. I was fucking drunk because I've been drinking all day in the sun. and I did some comedy. But then I got off stage. I had the shit. I had been home all day. I had left the house like at 2 or 3 o'clock. It was 10. I had the shit. So I had to leave during Jeff Brown's set. But Jeff Brown was funny as hell. Yeah, Jason, I know the moonwalk was before Jeffrey Daniels. I'm just talking about Jeffrey Daniels' version of the moonwalk. What's up, Deja? I'm talking about Jeffrey. I think Jeffrey Daniel had the cleanest version of the moonwalk. Well, Michael Jackson the cleanest, but outside of Michael, Jeffrey Daniels, his moonwalk was so smooth and niggerish. But the reason why I'm doing this project is bigger than hip hop because what we tend to do is we Europeanize our heroes. We and that's what Europeans do. Their point of view, and again, this isn't an indictment on Europeans. This isn't saying we're better or they're worse or whatever. This is just, again, me speaking from a cultural, anthropological point of view. When you study culture, read the book by Sheikh Anta Diop. It's called Civilization of Barbarism. That's one of them. And it talks about the different how cultures. But that's a quick reference. But if you're going to look at cultures, look at things different. Like the European culture, they tend to make things a mountain, a pyramid, a mountain, whereas one on the top and then everyone else below. We, as people of the earth, our cultural point of view, when it's natural and untainted, is seen in more of plateaus, pantheons. Like you got to remember the comic books; those are our stories. So and I'm not that into comic books. I only get into comic books because comic book movies tell you what's really going on. So if you really want to know what's going on in the world around you, you got to watch comic book movies and just be able to decipher who is who. But comic book movies also and comic books teach us different aspects of ourselves. So when you're watching a book movie or reading a comic book, it's not that Wolverine is better than Cyclops or Superman is better than Black Man. I said Black Man, Batman, Freudian slip. But when you look at comic books, you see them as pantheons. They're different aspects of greatness. And if you want true understanding, you want to be able to identify the aspects of greatness and level it and get something from it and see aspects of yourself in it and to see how it takes different aspects of greatness for us to really understand greatness. This is something basketball fans don't understand. Dennis Rodman was as great as Michael Jordan. I'll get to your question in a second, Brother Curtis. But when I finish this point, I'm gonna get to your question. Dennis Rodman was as great as Michael Jordan. They're equally great. You'll ask me, what does that mean? MJ scored a bunch of points. All Rodman did was rebound. Well, basketball is equal parts scoring, rebounding, defense. Assists is kind of a bullshit stat. Assists are kind of a misleading stat. But rebounding, defense, that's as important as scoring. And Dennis Rodman's greatness allowed the Bulls to not have to double team Sean Kemp in the 96 finals. His greatness allowed the Bulls to not have to double team Karl Malone. It kept the opposing team to one shot and done because he got every rebound. They didn't have to sag in guards to get rebounds like the Warriors did when the Warriors lost. The Warriors lost in part in our ways because they couldn't rebound. That's why the Phoenix Suns used to lose. Defense. Dennis Rodman could guard Shaq. Dennis Rodman could guard James Worthy. At the aspects of his game, Dennis Rodman was every bit as great as what he did as Michael Jordan was at scoring what he did. But because you've all been trained to see things top down, most people don't understand that. It's a plateau of greatness, different aspects of greatness. And if you watch the comic book films, you'll understand that. And if you start to see life the way you see those comic book films, you'll understand that. The point is not to fight greatness. The point is to understand the aspects of greatness. And now you may favor this, you may favor aspect of greatness over that aspect of greatness, and that's fine. That's life. We all have the right to choose our preferences, but one isn't better than the other. All is necessary. What do you think about MJ versus Beyonce comparisons? It's bullshit. Beyonce versus Michael Jackson comparison. Beyonce wouldn't even want to be compared with Michael Jackson. Why would you do that to Beyonce? Beyonce has a very large niche fan base that loves her to death. Outside of that extremely dedicated fan base, people don't really care about Beyonce. Beyonce is a great performer. She's great at what she does. You know, she tends to. Michael Jackson. Let me say this. Michael Jackson was inspired by James Brown, inspired by Little Richard and the Nicholas brothers. Beyonce seems to just flat out rip off people, just like her husband Jay Z. Jay Z and Beyonce are both rip off artists. They both benefit from a time that the music industry defunded quality music and sort of started going after fuckboy style rap. You know, I got more money than you. It took the live instrumentation of R&B, and R&B basically became a mockery of hip hop during the Beyonce era. So they both benefit from a downtime in music history. There's one thing you got to remember about Michael Jackson. I'm glad you brought that up, Roland Curtis, because it takes me to my next point. Michael Jackson, he did it during the greatest era of music. The greatest era of music was between 67 and 85. Greatest era of music. 1967 to 1985. My personal favorite of that time is 72 to 78, 79. That's my personal favorite, 72 to 79. But the greatest era of music is 67 to 85. Michael Jackson was dominant during that era. That's a good one, Jeff. Beyonce carried on a vibe. Michael Jackson changed the world. Yep. See, well, Michael, you gotta realize Michael Jackson was part of the Jackson Five. The Jackson Five was hot in the era of the greatest era of band, and they were at children's school. The Jackson Five. How you doing? Are you out? All right, cool. All right, I'll let you know. All right, cool, thanks. So Michael Jackson in the 70s, you got to realize the 70s, Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5, and this isn't when streaming was around. This is when you had to actually go and buy the album. People had the choice of Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, the Spinners, Michael Jackson during the Jackson, just this is in the Jackson 5 era. When he was doing his thing during the Jackson 5 era, he had to compete with the Isley brothers, Frankie Beverly and Mays, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. The Jackson 5 had to compete with Parliament Funkadelic, Earth and Fire, the Ohio Players. And this is during a time economically in the 70s that, it was really downtime economically for black people. That's when outsourcing started to happen in the ghettos in America. Cover my camera, so I'll go inside. But mm, so that's when the whole outsourcing thing was taken off in the 70s, and black neighborhoods were getting black neighborhoods were getting straight up economically devastated, during that time. So niggas ain't really have money like that. And then on the white side, this side, Michael Jackson, they had to deal with groups like the Osmonds, these white groups trying to act like them. They had to deal with the Bee Gees. They had a white audience too. They had Michael Jackson had to come through, he had to deal with the funk era, the height of funk, and the height of disco. And the Jacksons had to navigate during that time, during the height of funk and during the height of disco. And he pulled through that. And then when you get to the 80s, that's when MTV comes and they're really pushing white music. It's on the black side. He had to still compete with the Gap Band and Cameo and Rick James. Remember, Rick James had gotten hot. Stevie Wonder's in his prime. Marvin Gaye's still alive. Luther Vandross is coming on new. Shaka Khan is around. Here come Whitney Houston. I'm hiding the motherfucker, ain't I? This was the environment around Michael Jackson's era. Cher, Sonny and Cher. He had to deal with um, all them white Phil Collins, all these white boys they was trying to throw in his direction to be the best. David Bowie, Madonna, Michael Jackson had like who was Beyonce's like Beyonce? She came up in the era of Jill Scott and Erykah Badu, but Jill Scott and Erykah Badu weren't pushed. They were never pressed by the mainstream. You know, we the grassroots pushed Jill Scott and Erykah Badu to the top. Those are two grassroots artists. They weren't chosen by them people. Erykah Badu and Jill Scott had to get in where they fit in. But Michael Jackson, he came up during the time of goddamn, like when music was just at its best. Al Green, you're right, Heat Wave, the Commodores, the OJs, and the Queen, right? Aerosmith. And here and then when the 80s come along, that's when you get the rock era. That's when you get Bon Jovi and Journey and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's when you get the Motley Crue. Michael Jackson is selling 80 million of them things with that level of competition. And the Motley Crue is dope. Iron Maiden during their top time. And y'all know I fucks with Motley Crue. Them white boys in the Motley Crue made some music, nigga. Shout at the Devil. I ain't never gonna hear me shortchange the Motley Crue. Van Halen, yeah, Bruce. Think of the environment Michael Jackson dominated. Like Michael Jackson was Barry White, nigga. When Teddy Pendergrass, Michael Jackson was making love music songs like "Lady of My Life." "Lady of My Life" came out in an era Marvin Gaye, Teddy Pendergrass, Barry White were making their best love music. And Michael Jackson's ballads stood up to Jeffrey Osborne, Peebo Bryson, Luther Vandross, people who were known as balladeers. Michael Jackson's ballads stood up and outshined uh what's what's his name? I see his face, but I'm drawing to his name. What's his name? We're in this love together. What's that nigga name? Al Jarreau. Think about that. Michael Jackson's ballad. Michael Jackson's ballads stood up in an era of Denise Williams ballads, Minnie Riperton, James Ingram. Michael Jackson's ballads stood next to Whitney Houston's ballads. Come on, man. What the fuck we talking about here? Michael Jackson's funk. And when I say it's funk, I'm talking about Billie Jean. I'm talking about I'm talking about um, Rock with You. His funk stood up at a time Midnight Star was releasing funk. At a time Cameo and the Gap Band and Rick James was putting out funk. Michael Jackson's funk. Wow. At a time. Do y'all know that the song that took Michael Jackson's from number one was Atomic Dog by George Clinton? Michael Jackson had Louis Johnson on bass, nigga. That's funk. Michael Jackson's Disco, Off the Wall, was came at an era that Donna Summer was on top. The fuck? Let's shake your body down to the ground. Let's dance. Let's shout, shout. That Jackson 5 disco? Can you feel it? Man, that came at a time like he was out discoing the Bee Gees, nigga. You don't come on. This was the era Michael Jackson dominated. Do people think about this? And do people really think about this? Yeah, SOS Band. Come on, man. I love listening to. I like listening to my father-in-law stories about like when he was recording the was it Dancing on Lionel's first album. Lionel, they're recording that album at the same time Michael Jackson was recording Thriller, and oftentimes they both be at Westlake Studios at the same time because Michael and Lionel are like very close. And so my father-in-law he's told me tons of stories of just those years being in the studio. And he and Lionel over here, Quincy and Michael are down there. And in between takes, they be kicking it, talking shit, you know. And them stories he tells me working with Michael when Michael was a child. Like I got some of the dopest firsthand stories of Michael Jackson. I'm thankful. I never met Michael, but I have so many people I have a few people that I'm cool with that got stories that worked with Michael. Thankful, man. And so yeah. So we gotta remember Michael Jackson, he was on top during an era music was at its best. And then let's take it to the 90s. Hip hop was coming in, New Jack Swing was on top, then boom, Dangerous drop. Let's get Teddy Riley and bring this New Jack Swing in full swing. Remember the time. First time black people were shown as the ancient Egyptians on camera in American cinema history. Let's go back to Bad. He went and got Andre Crouch, a gospel choir, and came up with a song with a real song. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make the change. Michael Jackson, at the top of his career, at the zenith of his success, he took time to give us a message of self empowerment and self love. Did Jay-Z do that when he was on top? Or did he wait till he was falling off and try to clout chase on 444 of a semi conscious 444 album? And then right back to selling bullshit, talking about how much money I got. I'm a billionaire and fuck you. He didn't do that. Michael Jackson took time. Remember, Bad. Michael Jackson couldn't do no wrong when Bad came out. He was at the zenith of his success. They weren't talking shit about him yet. He actually had a little bit of sympathy because his hair got burned on that Pepsi commercial. So people actually had, not only was he the greatest at the time, but he also had sympathy because his hair, scalp had just gotten burned. And at that time, he came out with a song saying, "We're taking over. We have the truth. This final message we bring to you. There is no fear. It's not dangerous. This is our planet. You are one of us." When he came out with that, another part of me, go back and listen to another part of me. Another part of me is an anthem of self love and of coming together under the idea of taking over and revolutionizing the world that we live in. He said there's no fear. We got to come together. We got to understand that every human on this earth is another part of each other. Now, white supremacy is what gets in the way of a lot of us understanding that right now. And those of us like me who do understand white supremacy, I do take a black first approach to things, but that's with a firm understanding that even though I take that approach, everyone I see around me is another part of me. We're all part of one organism. We're one of Earth is this is one thing. We're in the solar system. Our 4th of July is coming up, red, white, and blue. It's ode to our Mother Star series. She's gonna be coming up in the east tonight, looking beautiful. This is our planet. You're one of us. Michael Bismarck. Hey. That's why you ain't never gonna be a fucking mod. Hey, can somebody time out Bismarck T? Jay-Z Mama is a power stud. Happy birthday, Derica. Hey, mods, can somebody just time out Bismarck T? Don't boot him. Just get that nigga out of here for a second, nigga. That shit was funny. Happy birthday, Derica. Derica, go to my website, breakthroughcards.com right now, and tell me the card of the day. I think we're on a 5 of clubs day, but I'm not sure. I'll give you a quick little reading. Tell me what card you are, Derek. Go to my website, put up your birthday card. But back to Michael Jackson real quick, and Michael Jackson. Another part of me is a metaphysical song. It's a song about universal consciousness. It's a very deep song, deep understanding song. You gotta have a it's an esoteric song. You gotta listen to that song with the third eye. Hey, Fourth of July is Jack of Diamonds Day. Oh, and later on this week, I'm going to do a reading for the America's birthday, 4th of July. We're going to do predictions for the year. In the meantime, go back and listen to my last 4th of July reading show from about a year ago, and go back and listen to all the predictions that I said back then that came true. Go back and go do my Seven of Hearts reading for the year back I did back in December, and get ready. Get ready. But you know, when it comes down to it, when it comes down to it, Michael Jackson, remember the time. Then he turned around in 1996. And 1996 was the year of gangster records. All Eyes on Me dropped that year. Biggie's album dropped that year. The most gangster album of '96 was History, nigga. History was the most gangster album. '96. Go back and listen. They don't really want to care. They don't really. I don't. All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. Gangster. Money. Go back and listen to the song Money. Money's a gangster ass song. He's calling out the Rothschilds and the Vanderbergs. He's telling you to watch out for the backstabbers. Telling you who they are. Uh, man. Um, go back to Incense and Ashtrays. I did a whole breakdown of the History album, the militancy within Michael Jackson's music. If any of my mods are in here, give me that. Drop that in the chat. I don't think any of my mods are in here. I did a whole Incense and Ashtrays. It's on Mixcloud right now. If you're not on Mixcloud, go to Mix. If you haven't been a part of the Incense and Ashtrays movement, it's been moving slow the last year as far as like live episodes, but I got over 2 years of content of Incense and Ashtrays breaking down different aspects of music. So I'm gonna need y'all to go right now to mixcloud.com/DwannB. And I broke down Michael Jackson and the militancy within his music. Mm. If I can figure out this freezing thing going on my computer, I'm just gonna pick it back up on my laptop. But my laptop doesn't have my Apple Library. My Apple Library got them songs that you can't find on Spotify. My Apple Library got the shit that they took off Spotify. All the Death Row shit, like a lot of Parliament Funkadelic. I got some music that was never released on that motherfucker. So I like to do Instance Naturals from my main computer because it has all of the music on it. I appreciate that favor, Joe. A lot of YouTube audience on me going on to Mixcloud. Like Mixcloud, I have like I've had episodes where I have like 400 people in the live here on YouTube, and I'm like, come over to the Mixcloud, and it'll be like 10 niggas that show up. But I appreciate you 10 that do show up. But it's just been so much going. And plus, another reason why I pull back on the Incense and Ashtrays is, in some ways, I'm putting the documentary together. Like, y'all gonna like this. We all see the quality of my pilot. You'll see how much we invested into the pilot. You'll understand what we're getting at when we do the crowdfunding because I'm proud of this work. in Cincinnati. I'm so proud of what we've done so far in the documentary, and where I'm going with this documentary. I am tying in hip hop all the way back. Most of these niggas want to start hip hop in '72, or they can only get you to the '60s or the '50s. Well, most of these niggas only gonna get you to this century. I'm taking y'all ass all the way back. I'm taking y'all ass all the way back on this documentary. But he said, how significant is MJ's father to his greatness? Extremely significant. That's why I think they got to shit on Joe so much. If they just let Joe live, Joe will be known as one of the greatest fathers of all time. They got to constantly remind you that he whooped his kids when 99% of black people back then whooped their kids. Everybody got their ass whooped. Joe whooped his kids into being the greatest goddamn family of all time. That's how you know Joe was great. He didn't do it once. He didn't do it twice. All of them Jackson kids is great. Jermaine, Marlon, Tito. Tito a better guitarist than most motherfuckers you hit than anybody in hip hop. I'll tell you that goddamn much. With for that group, remember the people always wanted to. I hate when they shit on the other Jacksons. It's like did they have Michael's talent? No, they didn't have Michael's talent, but who on earth does have Michael's talent? The rest of them Jacksons are better than anybody in R&B right now. Tell the whole truth. The rest of the Jacksons are more talented than most of your top 10 R&B acts of the last 10 years. I can tell you that much. The Jacksons have to compete against the fucking Ozzy brothers. People lame when they start talking when they talk shit about the rest of the Jacksons. That's some lame shit. You ain't got to talk about the rest of the Jacksons just to pump Michael. Michael was so great, he was better than an extremely talented family. Janet, nigga, it's the pleasure principle. Man, the Jacksons had to go up against the Dramatics, nigga. I love the Dramatics. Jacksons had to go against the Temptations, against Curtis Mayfield, Gladys Knight, and the Pips. The Jacksons had to compete against them. And people want to talk shit about the Jacksons. The Jacksons had to compete against Lakeside, nigga, and the Bee Gees. The Jacksons had to compete against, nigga, so much greatness. Tower of Power. Jacksons had to compete against that. They had to compete against shit. I mean, I'm drawing blanks to all the bands that Jackson had to compete against. People need to show respect to the Jacksons and Michael Jackson. Don't diss the rest of the Jacksons. Michael Jackson's so great, he outshined the most talented family ever recorded in music history. How about that? Yeah, he had to compete against War and Queen. The Jackson Five had to compete against Queen, nigga. I don't take no Jackson Five slander. Not around me. Not around me. Yeah, they had to compete against Johnny Guitar Watson. What the fuck you niggas talking about? There was so much selection of music back then. On the jazz side, yeah, George Duke coming up. Herbie Hancock was in his prime during that era. Herbie Hancock couldn't miss. George Duke couldn't miss. I mean, just so much music. Whatever sound of music you're into, the '70s had it. If you're in the rock, you still had, you know, Ray Charles was still hanging on. James Brown was still doing music. James Brown would drop Body Heat in what, 74? Michael Jackson had to go hit up with James Brown and the Jackson 5. What the fuck is these niggas talking about? Do niggas know how great Stevie Wonder was in his prime? In the 70s? Do niggas know how great Stevie Wonder was in the 70s, nigga? And the Jacksons had to compete against that? The fuck? During the down economy, when people had to go to the store to buy wax albums, they couldn't just click on that computer for $9.99 a month? Fuck out of here. I'm about to get out of here, man. My phone, I would say longer, but my phone dying. I might actually do a two for the. I know I'm not doing two for tonight. I'm doing some shrooms tonight. I ain't no two for tonight going on. I'll come to you niggas tomorrow. So hell yeah, soul vaccination. Hell yeah, Genesis, Bruce. Right, man. Michael Jackson had to compete against the greatest, after doing the greatest era of music, and the Jackson Five was selling out fucking baseball stadiums. Jackson Five was selling out fucking baseball stadiums during the time at the same time Earth and Fire was doing magic tricks with David Blaine and David Copperfield and bringing these pyramids upside down on stage, and part of it was dropping the mothership. The Jackson Five was selling out concerts during a down economy when the Bee Gees were at the top. The fuck out of here. We want to shit on the Jacksons. But we'll talk some more about it. My phone dying. All right. My eyes ain't all the way grayed out. I'm about to smoke another blunt. Then they'll be grayed out. But yeah, go to my website, DwannB.com, get some of the new merch. I got a new dope ass. Go to DwannB.com. Just check out the website. I got a new T-shirt up for sale right now. Check it out. New T-shirt up for sale. And if you haven't bought anything on the website yet, if you're a first time buyer, or if you haven't used the coupon yet, coupon code take $5 off any order. You can only use it once, but everybody can use it. Everybody can use it, but you can only use it once. Take five. $5 off anything on DwannB.com. Take five. All right. I like dropping those at the end of the show, so for the people stuck with me. You know. All right. So I appreciate y'all. There are no perfect messengers, only perfect messages. For those willing to pick up the game, I'm out.